So that buying the breakout of Lululemon at $80 and some change, the rule is that you want to have good volume to confirm that it is actually breaking out with a 5% close of that time frame. We typically use the daily time frame for breakouts. And so when this stock of $80 and say 65 cents, right in there, so 80.65 times 105% is $84.68. When this stock closed the day at $84.68, which was between here and here, and you bought that 84.68 and it had good volume to go along with it, well then, and that was say on March the 25th, 2018, well, in September, 6 months later, the stock was at 153 and you bought it at 84.
Wow.
So it's almost double your money in 6 months. Not quite, but almost.
Right.
And then, you had a trend line that started right here with this marker and this marker. So if where's my little draw line? If we, right here, roughly, if I could exclude it in, about me do that right here. Can't really scoot it in much, but this is the line. Stop. I never use this particular platform for lines and drawing, but it starts right here and it goes up. But if I started it right here and went up, which would be this line, hugging this line, it would kind of jet out this way. And it along the way, it just, when it pulled back, it held the area. It went through, but then it didn't close through it. Bounced off of it, kept going up into the mid fours, high fours, came back down. Guess where it stopped again? On the trend line. And then it kind of went through it like, oh, we're going through it. And it's kind of looking a little weaker. And then we're like, I'm trying to stay up here, buddy. Don't disregard me. And then I hugged it tighter and then I went up again. So if it pulls back to say here, 407-ish, 400-ish, you might be a buyer if it's going to continue on with the uptrend. But again, it may not, it may go through it because, you've got to, you're making higher lows the whole way up, but, up in here, you've got a bit of not quite a double top, but, if we kind of start to come down, then we would have really made a double top because we topped in here. We did go up here and we've gone through this area here, but, we didn't go past it much, but we're still kind of firmly in this uptrend. So, you needed to kind of stop in this general range somewhere in here and then, continue on higher. Okay. And if it doesn't, then it kind of confirms the double top area. And if it starts to roll over and come down, that, it was truly a double top. And now we're looking at support down in here somewhere, below 300. That congestion, that area between, the buying and the selling. So again, buying a breakout, you want to stick to the rules because if you don't, you're subject to getting a head fake where it really is not breaking out, but you think it's breaking out, but it hasn't checked the boxes, and then it comes right back in to this channel that it was in. If you bought the breakout at 80 or whatever, right there, the 80, and you thought it was breaking out, nope, and it was right back in the channel. So you got to get the breakout confirmed with good volume, saying the train is leaving the station.
I have another one I want us to look at. I can give let me see. It's I'll give you the ticker symbol. It's CRSP.
SP?
Yes.
CRISPR?
Yes.
Yeah. Somewhat familiar. CRISPR Therapeutics, yeah.
I heard good stuff about them.
Well, let's see here.
I don't know.
And they might be good. Let's take a look at quickly the chart on this one. Let's look at it on Thinkorswim's a little bit better.
Okay.
CRISPR. Let's see. CRISPR. So, clearly the stock on the monthly, just kind of up and down, bit of a range, even though leaning more towards obviously being in a downtrend.
Okay.
But
I don't
bit
I don't
of
see
a,
it.
huh?
Can you share your screen?
Oh, sorry about that. Let's try that again. Let's try that again. Try that again. Coming at you.
Gotcha. Got it.
Okay. So CRISPR, monthly, bit of a downtrend.
Okay.
But also a bit of a range that it's been in. Clearly we can see, we bottomed, bottomed. So we've put in a triple bottom. 1, 2, although it's hit it twice, this area,
Okay.
3. And as we have been going up and down, it's not really getting through this downtrend. Because if you're a couple of my markers and here's where I was at,
Mhm.
and then I extended my line out the next time it went up, this was the month we were in. Sure enough, when we extended that line out, it's still not getting through it. And so bit of some doji looking action, long wick, skinnier body. Same thing here. Not quite sure we want to go up. But we had some good volume that really came in here the last few months. So I don't know if CRISPR's had some good news.
Okay.
Looks like Jim Cramer says it's still not too late to buy this energy stock. It must be something. So this is not an energy stock. CRISPR's a
I think it's
therapeutics
health.
company. So
Yeah.
within that article, they mentioned CRISPR, I'm sure. So
Oh,
they reaffirmed guidance 436 million to 440 and revenue guidance of 2.85 billion. He says, I like those guys, but I have no illusions. They're losing a lot of money, and we don't like to recommend stocks that are losing lots of money.
okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So that was the news there. However, that was today at
Oh,
7:57, part of that article. So, here's our monthly line that carried over. So it's very similar to what the kind of the weekly look is. And then obviously daily, tighter range, more candles. Bit of an uptrend, within the dailies. But, still has this overhead resistance that goes along with the monthly line that we already have. And then the hourly, you can clearly see it's a bit of a channel. The whole thing has been a bit of a channel,
yeah.
so, for me, not that I would buy it,
Yeah.
but, if it were breaking through like 66 above this channel and starting to do something, then maybe.
Okay.
And if we look at the fundamentals, maybe. We were looking at CRISPR. CRSP? Yeah. CRISPR Therapeutics. And we looked at their financials. We got a little peeky peek. This is a weird number sitting right here. I don't even know what that's even about. They reaffirmed guidance of, what was that, 436 to 440. So they just didn't add the rest of it. It's 436 million
Oh, we
Remember
know
for
it's
them.
not dollars.
Right. Yeah, 436 million. Cost of revenue is a lot. I guess that's 110. It must be 1 billion and some change. I don't know. These numbers are kind of weird. So I know this is 913 million, I would imagine.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is B. That's an 8. I'm sorry. Anyway, they reconfirmed guidance of 436 to 440 and what they say. Let me look at it. They said yeah, guidance of 436 to 440 and revenue guidance of 2.85 billion. So let's see here. What are you seeing on my screen? Are you seeing Yahoo still?
Yes.
Okay, so 2.5 or 2.85, one or the other, billion in revenue. Hold on, good gracious, I need to two in revenue. Oh, it must be for the year. Yeah. So 436 to 440's got to be for the quarter. 2.85 billion is for the year as far as revenue guidance full year. So back to that. We're looking at yearly numbers year over year, and then wherever their total revenue is, because I guess they're showing, they must be showing guidance for 2024. Because here's what we're missing. There's no 2023 here,
No.
right? So I'm like, something's really weird here. There's no 2023 here. So the guidance they're giving is for 2024 or however their fiscal year runs.
Okay.
So you got to, make sure you're looking, because it took me a second to figure this out. I'm like, what are we doing? And so they're losing money.
Mm.
And I don't know that we'll fully see it because we don't see 2023 here yet updated. But according to Kramer, they're losing a lot of money.
Yeah, we don't want
And
to.
that's not fully uncommon with biotech and therapeutic companies, which are biotech companies.
Right.
They're trying to figure something out and they need lots of money, and usually they're losing lots of money. And so, but if they can bring a product to market and figure some stuff out, then they'll have something. And then usually it's a bigger company that comes in and wants to partner once you figured it out. They give you some money and they want part of the revenues.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so these numbers, I don't like blow my head up with the numbers, but I do like to see if I find a company that is it's making money.
Right. That's what we want.
So stats, we do have some 2023 numbers here. Just wasn't updated in the financial section. So this is current quarter over quarter. So we don't have the most recent quarter yet updated. Let's see here. And we're not going to see, well, you see profit margins, they're losing money. Operating margins are losing money. Return on assets and all the rest of it. And yeah, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, etc. Lost 400 plus $1 million. It's a lot of money
Yeah.
to lose.
Mm.
A lot of money, or it seems like a lot of money. I don't know how their stuff plays out. Total cash, almost $2 billion. Total debt, only 1/10 of that. So that's pretty good ratio. They got money, and the debt's not huge. But then the question is, how much cash are they burning through quarter over quarter? The float's not all that big. Let's see. Institutions own the majority of it.
Can you tell me, when you say the float, what's that mean?
How many shares are being actually out there traded?
Oh,
You
okay.
take what the insiders own and the institutions own. Once you kind of back out, and the numbers are always weird because it got implied versus share, what are actually out there. I guess these two are actually married up. the little definition they give you, number A, is a company's float is a measure of the number of shares available to the trading public, which we know. It's calculated by taking the number of issued and outstanding shares. You subtract out any restricted stock that may be publicly traded. And so, you know, whatever that calculation is, once you back out some stuff, it really comes down to what's really being bandied about, you know, that's not restricted. And so if you have the float, what's floated out there of 78 million, it's always like, is the institutions, do they hold 68% of the float or of the shares outstanding, you know, which is close to the float as it is anyway. So when you have, you know, institutions that own a lot of the float, they may not be doing a lot of trading. And so if it's a lot of retail trading, then the stock may have an opportunity to move a little bit more. So I'm always interested to see, do the insiders have any skin in the game?
Right.
And how much do the big boys and girls own? Because if there's no institutional ownership,
Then that means they don't believe in their own.
well, they may not believe in their company, because institutional
Right.
ownerships, they're like the mutual funds and all those guys are like, we don't want to buy any of that. Right. Right. So there's no institutional ownership. But if you have a heavy institutional ownership and you have insider ownership that's a bigger number than this one, you're like, okay, well, they got skin in the game and the bigger players own a bunch of it. Well,
Yeah.
okay. And the float's not too crazy as far as the number. And then you think about what the float is versus how many shares that are actually being traded on the daily.
Right.
You know, this percentage, 1.3 million of, say, the 78 million that are out there, is it really 78 million that's being bandied about? Unlikely, because the institutions own like 70% of it, and they probably don't trade a whole lot because they're mutual funds usually, and they're not trading all the time. So, you know, it has a chance to move a little bit, because usually I'm like, all right, well, what if they don't really trade a whole lot at all? And you take 70% times a 78 million float, you know, it's roughly 5 million plus shares,
Okay.
50 million plus shares that are being kind of locked up, you know, the 70% roughly of the 78. So you're really only talking about maybe 25, 28 million shares that are really being bandied about. And then if you have 1 million shares traded plus every day, 2 million, that's not too bad. It's almost, you know, 6, 7% sometimes of the float. You might be able to get a little movement. So if you bought the shares at a particular price and there's an opportunity for a little bit of movement, then you can make some money.
Yeah.
Kind of like Tesla, their share structure is usually pretty good. Spotify, Netflix, their share structure is pretty good. Boeing's share structure is pretty good.
Right.
But if you have a big giant elephant and the share structure is horrible, and they got way too many shares outstanding and the float's super high, and then you only have a little bit of shares that trade every day, like, you know, then it's probably not going to move a whole lot.
Okay.
So you got to you'll hear me say the same things, you know. Are these guys making any money? Do they have any cash? What's their debt look like? Are they growing? Are they not growing? What business are they in? What's the float look like? Are their shares short? We'll get into, you know, keep getting into all of it. You know, and are there is there news?
Right.
You know, is there a catalyst that's coming up? What's the setup? Why am I buying this? And if I'm buying this and I chew through the technicals, what's the upside? Where's it going? If it's only going up 2% and the upside risk is only this, but the downside risk looks like it could fall further,
Right.
risk reward, I'm not doing that.
Right.
And then, so,
Exactly.
you know, this whole thing, you process at a fast pace. Right now, it's a little bit slower pace, but I know you understand everything I'm telling you.
Yes,
Now it's just
I
kind of
do.
putting stuff together.
Mhm.
You know, it's just everything you have to put together. The way you do your research, how you buy stocks, where do you sell them, you know, what the plan is, how do you manage? It's just a process.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a giant process. And you get good at the process, then you just get good at making money. And
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. like some today's trading. Let's see here.
Okay.
Um, see my screen?
Yes, I see it. Thank you.
GPK, maybe.
So what kind of company is this?
Probably a garbage company. It
Okay.
was it
Oh, cannabis.
really wasn't doing anything. We talked about this one before. It has a
Okay.
cannabis name over here, integrated
Oh,
cannabis solutions. But
yes.
they have a reverse merger supposedly going to happen soon, where they filed with the SEC a change of ownership, and supposedly there's this Chinese company. We've talked about this before, like Temu,
Yes.
that is similar to this company, that it's similar to Temu anyway, that is going to be merging into it, take over the shell, and it'll change the symbol and all the rest of the stuff. So the stock has run a lot,
Yeah, I see.
in this month. People made a lot of money on their money this month. And then the weekly clear drawing set. You can see the weekly was kind of ran up, pulled back for a second, about 50% or so, and then we've run. Now we're thinking, how much higher do we want to go? It's kind of waffling a little bit. The daily, you can see, I've seen more candles, the run up, the pull back, the run up. And on the daily, we can see this uptrend line goes about like that. If I use wick to kind of wick right there, to wick to wick. And so the stock was teetering today. We hit like 6.9 right here. You can see low was 6.9. And so I knew that I was going to buy the trend line. Same thing I always tell you, right?
Right.
If I feel like it's a good buy on the trend line. So if you look here under messages, it just shows me stuff I did all day. If I go back throughout my day to here, started buying the 7.3s, 136,000 shares. This is at a 9.57 today. Then I bought, okay, no, this was the fill of this. Then I bought 189,000 at 7.3 at 10 o'clock, 120, 10 seconds later, 29, 40. Then
So
I bought
you kept buying stock throughout the day.
Sure, yeah, and I kept buying this trend line. Then
Okay.
I bought 140, almost 141,000 at 71, because 71 is right there
Okay.
on the trend line. Then I bought more, bought 239,000 at 73, 10,000 at 72.8, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. It's filling at different points.
Okay.
They may not give it to you. I might say I want to buy 500,000 shares, and you got to have someone who's willing to sell it to you. So 50,000, 129, I just kept buying. And then towards the end of the day, I had to go on this MRI appointment, and I bought different stocks. You can see different names.
Yes.
I sold right here at 340.
Okay.
I sold 1.527299 million at 81. So you do the math, 1.527299 times, say I bought an average of 0.0072, probably closer to 73 almost, but it was under 73. That is,
I can't even see it, but
that's all right. You do the math, 10,900, almost 11,000.
996.5.
10,900.
10,996.
Right. So about $11,000. And if you
That's
do
amazing.
$11,000, you do that same 1527,299 times 0.0081, you'll see that I made like $1,200 a day on that one stock.
Wow.
Because remember, I bought at 7.3s and 7.1s, some 7.2s, and then I sold it all right 20 minutes before the close at 8:01.
So you did all of this today?
Sure, yeah.
Wow.
But it doesn't take a whole lot. You're just putting in an order. It's just clicking right here, buy, move this, buy. I want to buy. I'll usually do dollar amounts. I might do, buy $5,000
Okay,
of IGPK at a limit of 7.1, good for the day, and then confirm and send.
okay.
So like right now, I'll click it, I'll say good, because it doesn't trade after hours, so it would have to be.
Oh, okay, so you're safe.
So yeah, so if I click it, good for the day, it's going to put it right there. So
Oh.
it's 700,000 shares. The $5,000 buys me 700,000 shares at a limit of 71.
Oh, wow.
You see that?
Yes.
Right. So, and then if I needed to change that for tomorrow and I thought the stock was going to open higher or lower, I can move this $5,000 up or down, or that's $5,000 purchase with a different share price. And it would
Right.
cost me some more money if I moved it higher, obviously, or less money if I moved it lower. And then I had to confirm it if I moved it to a different place, to a different price point. And so as the stock is trading, say if we look at Tesla,
Okay.
we're after 8 o'clock, so the stock market's closed after hours, but if it were open, it would be showing time and sales. So, and if I looked at level 2 right here, level 2 is a level that'll show you how many shares are on the bid, meaning, hey, I want to buy it, how many shares on the ask. And so that 700,000 share purchase that I wanted, it would show somewhere in here. It might get combined with someone else's stuff. Hey, we've got 1.4 million shares on the bid at 7.1. That's, you got someone who wants to buy, or a couple of people who want to buy 1.4 million shares at this price point. And then over here, it might say, well, we want to sell 1 million shares at 7.3. Whatever. Right. And then someone's going to move, and then other people may come in. Hey, I'll sell you 1.4 million shares at 7.2. And then so they trump this person that really wanted to sell at 7.3. And then it might be sitting there and I'll be like, you know what? I'll buy it at 7.2, and I might change my order to buy it at 7.2.
Okay.
The level 2 will show me behind the curtain a bit, like what's going on. And so I'll know if it's kind of thin over here on the ask, not a whole lot of people are selling. And as this stuff starts to get filled on the ask, it's going to start jumping. So say the ask was at 7.3 and there was 1 million shares on the ask, but the next one is like, say, 300,000 at 7.5, and the next one's 100,000 at 7.7. It's very thin, because it's going to go from 7.3 to 7.7 in a hurry as this one gets filled, because there's not a whole lot that needs to be filled here. And it's going to make people bring their bid up because the ask is going up, so the stuff is fluid at times.
Yeah.
And it's so simple, but it's just a process in your brain to make sure you check the boxes.
Right.
So when I bought, I knew what I wanted to buy it at. Okay, I'm going to buy this 1.5. I'm going to spend 11 grand, whatever, buying this at 7.37271. I believed, based on a lot of other factors, different time frames, the whole story, the catalyst, that we're probably going to bounce off this number, and we did.
Okay.
And we actually closed at 8.4. I sold it too soon. I could have made, some extra money by waiting just probably 5 more minutes. But I was like, I need to get out of it. I'm at the doctor's appointment and I can't see my screen. And
Right.
I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take the 11% or whatever and just make the $1,200 or whatever and just get out of it.
Right.
But that is how you make a
Build
bunch of
everything.
money every single day when you're good at moving money. My average used to be like 10 grand a day. Like,
Oh my God, Eugene.
right. If you think about the totality of me going from $5,000 to almost $3 million and you
Yeah,
just divide that by 255 trading days or whatever, it's about
yeah,
10 grand a day. You know, obviously it didn't happen 10 grand a day that way. Some
right.
days were
Some days
20
were
some thousand,
better,
some days were
less.
4,000, some days or whatever.
Right. But you're averaging
You
basically.
averaged, your whole average was about 10 grand a day.
That's
And
amazing.
so, you know, in the moment, Sharonda, let me stop this video. Let me stop recording. Well, actually, I'll tell because someone's watching this later. In the moment, um, it you really don't get caught up in the number.
Yeah,
You get caught up in the process. You
right,
know, money is just I don't know. I've always expected to have money, like, right? So if that is the expectation, like getting it is, it doesn't really wow you. It's finally good, like, good, I'm finally getting off my tail and making the stupid money, right? But you always felt like you were going to make the money. You know what I mean?
right,
It just some people they don't ever get that in their brain. Like there's
right,
never an expectation that they're ever going to have money. So there's never a desire to get the money, to figure out how to get the money. So if they never had that expectation and all of a sudden they win the lottery, then they're broke. Like
right,
they never had the money here.
right,
Like
right. It's a
so,
mindset. They do. It's
yeah,
true. It's a mindset.
it is.
You
So
know,
I expect to have a lot of money, right? And then
yeah.
when I get the money, I'll be like, oh yeah, whatever. You know, just it's just a tool. It's just a
It is a tool, but it's very interesting. I mean, you can live off this tool.
yeah, and but the money's just a tool too. It's just
Yeah.
I'm not taking any of it with me. Maybe they can put a couple dollars in my pocket in case the Grim Reaper's trying to get me and I try to buy my way out of it or something.
Yeah, but
But
it's really good that you know that you're able to have this skill to do this because, it helps yourself and your family
yeah,
and maybe a few other things that you may want to get into to have that resource and to have that mindset to know that I can do this.
yeah.
Like you said, many people don't have it. They just feel like, okay, you have a job and this is all I'm going to ever make.
Mhm.
Even if my goal is to make $100,000, that's their cap,
Right.
if that makes sense, because they feel like they've arrived or,
Hmm.
oh, I'm doing so well.
Right.
We kind of talked about that a little bit on
Yeah,
Sunday.
because then that's where your brain is. And if
And then you
that's what you
stop.
believe where your brain is, then you're good with it. That's where you're at.
Yeah,
And you feel like, man, I'm doing my thing. And like, do your thing, girl. Do your
of
thing, dude.
course. Yeah, of
But if
course.
your thing is like, oh no, I need to make $1 million a month,
Yeah, I need more than this. This is not gonna cut it.
that's where your brain is. That's kind
Right.
of where you're at. And that's the expectation. And I don't know. I just thought it was all possible years and years ago. And I certainly believe. I just keep trying to prove it out. And I have big, big goals if I
You
can
have
just,
lofty goals. Yeah.
yeah, and just because it can be done. So why not do it? And why not you?
Yeah. And I want it to be me and it will be me. And I'm like, today I'm a little bit down, just stuff at work. It's just a lot of stress. The company is really something else. Not really, they just they just don't want to pay us as salespeople,
Hmm.
finding every way to nickel and dime things and you're working just as hard, if not harder. So I'm feeling like I may have to make some decisions and
Hmm.
possibly
Move.
move to another company. And I have
Hmm.
a lot of recruiters that reach out to me, and I actually had one reach out to me today. I think sometimes you get a little worried about the unknown once you leave, you know?
Hmm.
But I know once I do leave, I'm going to be making a lot more in my base salary.
Hmm.
But again, the unknown is kind of scary. That's what it is,
Don't be
really.
scared.
Yeah. But I believe in myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I like the great unknown. I like the mystery of life. I'm one that I don't need the stability. My wife needs the stability. Um, I just always believe it'll always work out.
that's great.
Always. I'm
Yeah.
like, don't worry, sweetie, it'll work out. Trust me.
Yeah.
And and I'm like, and she's learned. She really has. I used to tell her all the time, $100,000 is not a lot of money, sweetheart. She said, well, it is to me. I said, well, it is to most people, but I said, it isn't to me. I said, I'm gonna prove it to you one day. So it's good to start proving it, because I'm sure she's probably like, yeah, I've heard that story.
Right.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
So
But no, I believe that, I mean, just this short amount of time that you've been working with me, I will tell you, I have learned so much. I mean, I know I may ask the same questions
it's okay.
but it's good because repetition is important for me.
Hmm.
But believe it or not, every time we get on these calls, I pick something up. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. You know,
Hmm.
Eugene is saying the same thing, which is fine. I love it,
Hmm.
But it's really important that it's drilled into my brain,
Yeah. And I think it's important too, and I'll try to remember like to show you when we get on, like what was my trading day like? So then
Okay.
I can just go to say, look, here's where I bought it. Because sometimes, unless you see it, you
Mm-hmm.
may kind of believe it anyway with me telling you. But then when you see it, you're like, oh yeah, I see where he's bought all of this at 7.1 and 7.3. And I see where he sold the 1.5 million later in the day at 8.1. So doing the math, I see where he made $1,200 from that
Yes.
one trade today.
Right.
So,
Right.
it just, Sharonda, and I'll get off of it. It's just trade well.
Yes.
Figure out how to do it well. And don't worry about the money. The
It'll
money will
come.
follow you. Just do it right.
It's
If
in
you
the
just
homework.
focus, yes, just do it right. The money will take care of itself. I don't even really think about the money. I think about, am I trading well? And if I trade well, I'm gonna make a bunch of money.
Yeah, yeah. And that's really my focus, is to really listen to you and learn from you and just say, listen to, what you've done and take your lead on that and learn that piece of it. That's the most important piece for me, you
And I
know.
want you to also think about your investment. Think of it, if you had spent 3,000 at one time, and I said, Sharonda, listen, buy this right here, right now at 7.1 and 7.2.
Right.
And then you had whatever, say you had 10 grand sitting there and you
Yeah.
spent, like I did, $5,000. Say, well, I spent 11,000, but say you spent $5,000 and you made 11% on your money. I'm like, okay, Sharonda, sell it right here.
Yeah. Jump out.
11% on your 10,000, on your 5,000 is $550. It's
Yeah.
not going to take you long to recoup your investment. That's why I always kind of laugh. I'm like, it's just $3,000. Like
Right.
if you were actually working with me and you understood how quickly you can earn your money back, especially if you have some money, and we do it right and we safeguard the money, I will help you make money on your money. And then you're like, gosh, this is, I should be paying the dude more, right? As you
Gee.
start to do it. And my couple of the folks I coach, they're like, man, I made $1,200 there, $1,300 listening to you. Like
Wow.
today, like, but you're really not paying me anything. I could charge a lot more, but people, they gotta try to find the right number for people to help them.
Yeah.
Where it's not too much, it's not too little. Because if it's too little, then they don't really value it.
Right.
If it's too much, it scares the crap out of
It scares you. You're like, oh my God, is this, But I like how you talked about how you can protect your investment.
them.
So you're talking about putting those controls in place and those alerts and all the things. So that's really important, especially for, I guess, anybody, but especially a person like myself who is just kind of don't know anything,
Yeah. Mhm.
just new to this,
So
all of
when
this
we do
stuff.
it, like, I'll be like, okay, Sharonda, we're gonna put these open orders in at 7.2 and 7.1, and we're gonna put a stop loss order in like 6.8.
Yeah.
It really goes against you, it'll automatically sell, and then it could turn around and go right back up. And you're like, oh my gosh, I got stopped
I
out.
should have been like, darn, I should have.
Hate being stopped out, right? Should never
Oh,
put a stop loss order in. Trying to tell you that's what you should do when you're new.
yeah. No,
Um,
definitely want to be, you want to go slow and protect what you have. And sometimes you're going to win big and sometimes you're not, you'll win, but it won't be as big as you'd like it to be, but it's the
right.
learning. It's part of all the learning.
Yeah.
and I'm
And
good with that,
yeah,
so.
and as you get going and you get good and you start making some money and confidence starts to get there and you're like starting to get this thing. And if there's small wins, even if they're like, a couple $100 here, a few $100 there, whatever.
I'll take
Just
that.
as you start to see it come in, you're like, okay, I'm getting the reps in.
Mhm.
I'm getting the reps in because that's what you'll need, a lot of reps.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of reps, mental reps and literal reps, buying and selling. And then it's just gonna take some time, but if you're up for it, you'll learn it.
I am, Eugene, I know sometimes I come on these calls and I'm tired, but no, this is something I absolutely look forward to. This is something that I'm just like, I'm excited. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, with work and everything, you go through your highs, your lows, and you start questioning things. But, this is the part that I said I wanted to do this year. And it was so strange.